and I'm excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for reaching out and thanks for having me. I love this industry and always willing to talk more about it. So thanks
Yeah.
again for reaching out.
Yeah, no, for sure. If you would just like to introduce yourself, Steve, and kind of your background as well.
Yeah, first of all, congrats on graduating and cracking
Thank
into
you.
the industry. It's tough to crack in, so don't make it don't brush it off too lightly. That's an awesome accomplishment. So run
Yeah,
with it.
thank you.
Steve Westerduin from New York. I grew up in Cornwall, New York, going to Army hockey and football games. So that was my taste to college athletics as a kid. I was that kid waking up an hour early just to catch the full episode of Sports Center. So sports has always been my thing. I just didn't know what it meant. So I went to SUNY Oswego, a state school in upstate New York. Studied business administration. Knew I wanted to do sports, but didn't know what that meant. Upon graduation, still knew I wanted to do sports, just still didn't know what to do. And that's where I had a mentor kind of guide me to go to grad school and just kind of hone in on sport management and learn a bit more and buy myself some time. So I did that. I went to St. John's University in Queens, and that's where, as you alluded to, I did grad school for sport management, and I worked for the New York Mets in ticket sales. It kind of just was hitting on both sides, on the education side and work experience. Through my master's program, I had to do an internship. I got internship at Fordham University in the Bronx, New York, doing facilities and events. And that's kind of what just threw me into this world. And 12 years later, here I am.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it is just throwing yourself. I mean, people just. I did the same thing for my sport management degree. They said you had to do your last 15 credit hours are an internship. So that's kind of where I landed with KU athletics, and so that's how I started. What was it like? Kind of just the early steps, like internship, kind of reaching out to people. You said you mentioned a mentor. Kind of what was that early stage of your career kind of look like for you?
Yeah. It was just trying to figure it out mostly on my own. Now, this is why I love doing stuff like this and trying to help people following the trail behind me because I had to kind of figure it out myself. And I learned a lot of things that, I wish I knew earlier. I was in grad school and I heard these kids like, "Oh, I'm a GA." And I'm like, "What's a GA?" And I'm like, "Wait, you're not paying tuition and you're getting experience?" I'm like, "Shoot, I should have done that." So yeah, that was kind of the fun learning process. So I love, getting on calls like this and talking to younger kids and try to mentor because yeah, I had some mentors, but I didn't really have the appropriate guidance to get me where I needed to be as quick and efficient as possible. I feel I don't want to say lucky, but it worked out. But I think it could have been cleaner and easier. My favorite story I love telling, younger people in the industry is I took my internship at Fordham and I had to do 400 hours. The woman I was working with, she was great, and she told me, "Hey, 400's a lot. We're gonna have you at a lot of events. You might not hit 400, but we'll write it off." It's like, all right, cool. I'll get a part-time job. I'll do the internship, grad school. Like
Yeah.
I'll be crushing it. That was right around Thanksgiving. I showed up for my first game. It was December 28th. Show up, I walk in, and they're like, "We're gonna need you a lot more. Someone just left." And I was like, "All right, cool." I dove into it. I started working 40, 50-hour weeks. I was crazy. I never wanted them to see me sitting down or not doing anything. So
Yeah.
when I say I found busy work, I found as much busy work as I could. Uh,
Mhm.
and my favorite part, I hit my 400 hours right around March. They still hadn't hired that position, so I didn't tell anyone. I just kept showing up. I maxed out my hours. I just kept showing up. I said, "I'm gonna show up every day and tell them to make them tell me to go home." And I was fortunate enough that they hired me. And so my persistence and showing up every day, even though my internship had ended, it got me
Mhm.
into the door. And then through that, I was at Fordham for 11 and a half years. I had 5 different titles, including intern. And then just this summer, I made the move to come over to Massachusetts.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you mentioned the kind of 11 years at Fordham. What is that kind of you starting out? You said you mentioned or you started as an intern and then you got all the way up to associate AD for facilities. Kind of how did that streamline? What those 11 years look like?
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to have great bosses that allowed me to be myself and continue to take on more. I like to say I chase responsibility. So whenever someone would leave, I'd pop upstairs to the AD and say, "Hey, they were doing X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be hard to replace that. I'll take X off your hands. You just worry about Y and Z. And I did that a few too many times, if you ask my family, because I just kept taking on more and more. But that was kind of my way of gaining more responsibility, gaining more trust, and being the go-to guy. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, I take the old NFL saying, the best ability is availability. So I answer my phone whenever I can, much to my wife's dismay. No, but I like to joke. But she knows what it's about. She loves sports as well, and she knows how
Yeah.
committed I am. And those little things add up, and those little things matter. I've always taken that approach of be available, try to help, even if I don't have the answer, just answering and telling them I'm working on it gives a lot of peace of mind to a lot of people. So yeah, I had a great time at Fordham. I really enjoyed it. My boss at the end, the deputy AD there, he let me run with a lot of stuff. So that was fun. I was able to have my hands in a little bit of everything. Although I was facilities and events, overseeing club sports, overseeing intramural sports. I was on senior staff. I got involved with campus in every way I could. So it was fun. It was a fun way to grow and learn. And I like to tell people coming behind me and following my trail is chase responsibility. A lot of
Yeah.
people are afraid of responsibility. If you chase it, you'll go somewhere, and people
Mhm.
recognize that.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, and also, like, it's really easy to just clock in, clock out, and that's kinda your day, and, like, you can just go home, relax, and do whatever, but I think taking that extra step and like you mentioned, going to the AD and say, "Hey, I can do X and Y, and, for you guys," and kinda doing more than what your job title is, I think is very important, and not a lot of people, I've come to realize do that or kinda take that extra step, which is really interesting to hear about kind of in another person's perspective as well.
Yeah, listen, it's not for everyone. It's worked out well for me, and we're all competitive, right? It's sports. If you're the backup and the starter goes down, you want to be like, Coach, I'm ready.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the approach I take is, be the backup ready to step in. And once I step in, show them what I'm about.
What was the community like at Fordham or for being there for 11 years? Obviously you were ingrained in it for a long time. What that look like to you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'm a big culture person. The work we do is a lot. It's hard. It's a lot of hours, so you have to enjoy it. You got to enjoy what you're doing if you're going to be working 60 hours a week and 6, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Um, One thing like I said, I got involved in everything I could there. I tried to be on every single hiring committee. The way I put it was I couldn't affect who was here before me, but I can affect who's coming in after me. And I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that we had like-minded people who were ready to run through a wall to get things done and to be great. We all are so reliant and dependent on ourselves or on each other, excuse me, that
Mhm.
one person giving 85% is detrimental to everybody else when we're giving 100%.
Yeah.
So, I'd really like to be on the forefront of the culture and see who we're adding to the mix. But then also just day in and day out, making sure we're enjoying it. We pass people in the hallway, out in the field, enjoy the work you do and it makes every day better. Coaches and other administrators pick that up.
Mhm.
I joke, I don't do this because I love turf, drywall, grass, and electric. I do this
Yeah.
because I love sports and facilities, events, operations are my means to being close to sport.
I think there's a found respect that not a lot of people kind of I mean, obviously appreciate like everything in events and facilities and obviously I appreciate everyone here, but it's just kind of the ins and outs of what people don't see as well. Like you mentioned, like electrical or moving turf or like moving a goalpost or just something like that. Just the little things that people just don't think about on a game day or like just in everyday life. But obviously, super appreciative to the people that do that and kind of I guess you can say kind of the grunt work at sometimes, but
Yeah.
I
But it
I
all
shouldn't yeah, go ahead.
no, it all plays together, and that's how I wrap my head around it, right? So, like I said, I'll use football. I gotta work every football game, right? So, if I'm gonna be at every game, I wanna see wins. That makes it fun, that makes it better. All right, so how do we win? Better players. How do we get better players? Recruiting. All right, so what do? They come and do a visit. I gotta make sure that we're buttoned up, things look great, facilities are cleaned, things are where they're supposed to be, things are working.
Yeah,
So, that's where I put it into perspective for myself of I'm doing it for myself. I could be selfish.
mhm,
I'm going to make sure the football facility is clean because I want to see the best football possible. I'm
yeah,
going to make sure that the basketball court is pristine because I want that 5-star to come here. So it's easy. when you really put it, I joke I'm selfish about it, but it's selfish for the whole team. If
Mhm,
I do my part, it's going to help everybody else do their part. And
mhm,
facilities and ops, we're the gray area. If you're in development, you show up, you expect there to be nice seats for your donors and,
mhm,
tablecloths that look clean and pressed and restrooms that are clean and functional. We're making sure that all happens. If you're doing ticket sales, you're selling a seat that you expect that's going to be there, right?
yeah,
We make sure the bench is there, the chairs are clean, and the ticketing setup's there. So it's fun. You just got to really put it in the perspective of the bigger picture. And then it's
mhm,
really easy to do those little minor grunt work things because they all add up. If a
mhm,
five-star QB recruit is walking through and there's trash on the floor, that might be the difference of why they're not coming here. So
mhm.
that's how I roundabout spin it to make myself feel part of the team.
Yeah. No, it's a great perspective to have. I mean, everything counts, and yeah, a little example like that, like trash or just or something's out of place or not correct. I mean, that's gonna fall on the facility, and then it's gonna fall on the recruit. That's like, oh, they're not prepared for my visit or something like that. And yeah, I like how you take a lot of respect and pride in that. I think it's something definitely impressive just to have that mentality of like, "Hey, this falls on us," and everything like that. Switching to, like, UMass, what was that kind of you were at Fordham for so long, 11 years. What was that kind of cultural and operational shift going to UMass? Like, did a lot change? Was it different? What'd that look
Yeah,
like?
it's so the thing with facilities, events ops, I mean, it's a lot of it's the same. It's just scaling, right?
Yeah.
A high school's $1,000 problem is a Division 3 school's $100,000 problem is a small Division One's 100 or $1 million problem, which is Kansas's $100 million problem, right?
Mhm.
It's all the same problem, just scaled. Maybe
Yeah.
that high school just wants a new basketball court for their 100 fans, but the Jayhawks want a whole new arena. It's the same thing. It's just scaled up.
Yeah.
Um, so that's kind of the fun of it. With UMass, it was FBS football, much larger facilities, much larger
Mhm.
university as a whole. I loved my time at Fordham. I really wasn't looking to leave. It was just a good opportunity at a good time to really challenge myself, get to see a higher level of FBS football,
Yep.
a little bit higher level projects. We're doing some big things here, and that's exciting, right? Like I said, I
Mhm.
want to see the highest level athletics I can, and this is a great place for me to see high level, but also have a high impact on that. So I think over the next couple of years, as we continue to grow, it's going to be a lot of fun uh,
Mhm.
on the professional side of me building and doing things here, but also just enjoying us, competing and doing well across so many different sports.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you could brag about your guys' self. What projects do you guys got going on, or what are you involved in right now?
Yeah, so right now, I mean, just when I came in, it was fun. We were doing two different turf fields, a locker room project. So I'm working on three different team locker rooms right now, indoor track facility. So that's kind of the big one. Then our AD announced just a couple months ago that we're going to do a three-phased football renovation to the stadium. That's starting to pick up. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's it's a great balance for me. Some things they're high level where I'm just happy to be in the conversation. I'm not driving the car on this project. I'm just happy to be in the back seat. And then there's other projects where, I'm in the driver's seat and I'm leading the whole project. So it's a nice
Mhm.
balance of, things that I'm managing that are relatively big to massive projects that are, I know my place and kind of let the bigger dogs lead the show
Yeah.
and I just try to learn and pick up what I can.
Yeah. What's been some events that you obviously with the more event side as well, what's been some notable events that you've kind of even spearheaded or just kinda worked on that you were like, "Wow, that was very memorable," and I was really proud of that?
Yeah, unfortunately, not unfortunately, but most of my examples are gonna be from Fordham, here,
Yeah.
just only seeing the fall here, although, football games here were a lot of fun and dealing with tailgating and parking that we just didn't have in the Bronx, so that was a fun new challenge for me. But yeah, I've had some awesome events over my time working, you know, I worked the A-10 basketball tournament multiple years, and through that, I got to work the NCAA tournament, so working the 1st and 2nd round. I think that was last year or the year before. Just such an awesome experience, being in the
Yeah,
locker room with UConn after a round one win, Duke,
yeah,
we had some awesome teams there, so that was a lot of fun. We also had some really cool events at Fordham. I hosted a Aaron Judge camp, 2 summers in a row. I'm a big Yankee fan, so I got to meet Aaron
nice.
Judge. That was just a life highlight, let alone a career highlight.
You
So
guys
that
are killing the Royals.
What's that?
Said you're killing my Royals, man.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Yeah, no, we just can't get past the Dodgers like everybody
Yeah,
else, but,
yeah.
so meeting him was just I mean, he's a massive human and just such a good dude. He was like, "Yeah, hi, I'm Aaron." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm aware. I'm aware."
Yeah, I know who you are.
Yeah, so that was really cool, and, we had a lot of other cool events. I got to, you know, meet Stefon Diggs when he did a photo shoot, did a lot of different movies, and Bill Murray came to a basketball game, so some cool stuff, and that's the type of thing you I don't wanna say you become numb to it, because I definitely don't, but
Yeah,
those are just, like, the small benefits, and getting tickets here and there to other sporting events from colleagues or former friends in the industry. Those are some of the best things that make up for all the long nights and long,
yeah.
never-ending weeks.
Yeah, that's what I tell my friends too. I mean, most of them are often like a business job or something along those lines, and I'm at like Allen Fieldhouse at night or something or during the day, and it's something that kind of levels out of they're probably, I mean, making more money, but I'm having a better experience and better time. But
Oh, yeah.
so it evens out, like you mentioned.
Absolutely, yeah, the amount of people who are like, "Oh, man, you gotta work on a Saturday?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but if I was home, I'd be watching college football, and now I'm just here with a way better view." Like, I'm
Exactly.
okay with it.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. We had I think we had a football game like the Friday after Thanksgiving, an 11 a.m. kickoff for us, and everyone's like, "Oh, you really have to work that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd just be doing the same thing at home,
Yeah,
but instead I'm actually working it, and I'm on the sideline." So it's like
yeah,
it's a super cool experience that I guess only a few get to have in the industry.
yeah, no, and listen, if you don't like what you just said, then you're in the wrong industry, right? You gotta love it. I mean, I also the last decade I worked, we would host the Big Ten school that played in the Pinstripe Bowl. So
Mhm.
the Pinstripe Bowl is always like December 28th. So
Yeah.
I'd host them for practice December 22nd, 23rd, 24, 25. People are like, "You gotta work Christmas?" I'm watching a Big Ten team practice, with
Mhm.
no one else around. This is awesome. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, yeah. Going back to Fordham, being in the Bronx and, like, in the city, I just have no concept of, like, a university in a big time
Yeah,
city like that. What does that look like operationally? I just think of tailgates, and obviously you are too right now, but, like, I just don't have, like, a perception of a university and a school and, like, how to
sure.
prepare for that on game days and practice and all that stuff.
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it's funny because I get a lot of that, especially visiting teams would always get nervous. So Fordham is an actual closed campus within the Bronx, a
Okay.
little different than like Columbia or NYU that are a little bit more in the city and intermeshed within the city. Fordham is a gated campus within the Bronx. Oh, definitely tight for space. There's nowhere to build other than up. You couldn't expand outwardly. But the funny thing is, and I mentioned it a lot here this fall, as I'm at Massachusetts dealing, one of the biggest things I dealt with for football games is parking, pick routes, and tailgating.
Yeah,
At the Bronx, I didn't have to worry about that because we had a parking garage and maybe like 130 spots for tailgating.
yeah.
But New York City doesn't care who you are or what you have. They're not adjusting traffic for you. So,
Mhm.
like, we didn't have to worry about traffic routes. It was, you're coming here the way that they're going to allow you irregardless of what we have to say about it.
Yeah.
So, it was a little different there, and my favorite thing is the amount of teams that'd be like, "All right, we're 10 minutes out." 20 minutes later, "All right, we're 5 minutes out."
Yeah.
Like, some teams will show up 3 hours early because 'cause they're like, we were worried about traffic." So, it definitely messed with some people, but Fordham's in a great little spot in the Bronx, right next to the Bronx Zoo, right next to the Botanical Gardens, so there's a lot of open air to get out and enjoy yourself. A lot of the staff members would run through the gardens, and then
Mhm.
the hidden gem is Arthur Ave. It's called the Real Little Italy, some of the best Italian food in the world. I mean, it was yeah, it was dangerous. You go over there and you put some pounds on because the food's just too good.
Hey, don't mind that at all. Love
And, if
love
you're
some
ever in the
time.
area, I highly suggest going over there. some good
Yeah.
chicken parm. Oh, phenomenal.
Also an historic basketball arena on
Yeah,
Rose Hill.
yeah.
Having not known a lot about Fordham, I did know about the Rose Hill gym. Kind of what was that like just kinda operationally with that? You have to modernize, but at the same time, you have, like, an historic venue like that. How do you kinda balance, like, modernizing it for, I guess, technology and all that stuff that's kind of getting implemented into now, and then also kinda keeping it historic and of value?
Yeah, no, you hit it. You know, the sports aren't are, they're not slowing down. They're constantly changing and evolving, and that 1925 gym is not evolving. It is what it is. So some fun facts. It's the oldest on-campus active primary home location for men's basketball. Long-winded. So there's some
Yeah,
others that are older, but they're not the primary on-campus home location. When it was first built, they nicknamed it the Prairie because it's such a large open space, which is just hilarious in modern times. But you're right, there's a lot that needs to be done to modernize it with things like replay and broadcast and all that. Right around 2019, I believe, we gutted the entire gym. Simply put, we needed a new court, but the wood
mhm,
ran throughout the entire building. It's a stone building, it's really cool.
mhm,
So it was a monster of a project, but we were able to really run a lot of modern technology to get us up to speed and make things more efficient. But at the end of the day, that the arena is quite the challenge, but it was such a cool place. I mean, right around 2,500 seats. When it's packed out, I mean, it's like they're in your ear screaming at you.
mhm,
The sidelines are tight, so
yeah,
just egress and walking through the arena is really difficult.
mhm,
But it's such a cool atmosphere. I mean, the sound would echo, and it really became intimidating. And unfortunately, during my time, we weren't too good on the men's basketball side. A year or two where we were electric, and I think we went 10-0 in conference at home or something like that. And
nice.
it was such a cool experience. It was a challenge. The gym is 7.5 feet above ground, so
Mhm.
anything coming in the gym would have to be forklift. There's no
Oh,
elevator, it's all just stairs and lifting things up, so it really wasn't the easiest to manage operationally.
yeah, that doesn't sound easy. So when you were walking in it, you just walk up like a flight of stairs, or how'd that work?
So in 2023, they built another building right next to it, so the entrance would go through that, but yeah, you have to walk upstairs in every which way.
Wow.
And that's another, we are grandfathered into a lot of code and a lot of ADA law, which like, it's nice you're grandfathered in, you don't have to adapt, but at the same time, those people are still coming, so
Yeah,
it was a challenge. There's no restroom inside the gym. So that created a whole circuit of outside of reentry. It made us think critically, but it's such a cool place. It's such a cool
yeah.
place.
Yeah, having now being on the ticketing side, I know the reentry and no reentry. I know the problems that you probably
Yeah,
face with that. It could be
exactly.
a doozy for sure.
Exactly. Yep.
Fast forwarding to, I guess, UMass and kind of present times, what challenges or what obstacles do you see coming up in your future, and like what are you still adjusting to and a newer role since you've only been there since about June, right?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me is really internally having that 11 plus years of institutional knowledge was so nice, and not having that to fall back on kills me. Just not having the answer, not knowing who to go to, and now I've been here 6 months. It feels like a while, but it's really nothing. And I think it's going to take 2-3 years before I feel even semi close to where I was with
Yeah.
institutional knowledge. And in this role, it's so important to get things done quickly and as efficiently as possible. So having the institutional knowledge and shortcuts is just so crucial. So that's the part where I'm working as hard as I can to pick that up and find
Mhm.
those shortcuts. But that's my biggest challenge right now is trying to be great from day one, which just isn't going to be possible.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a lot of things to think about and obviously get familiarized with being there and everything. I had another good question. I totally forgot it. So yeah, leadership. What's your kind of like leadership approach now from being that intern to now I'd assume you're leading
Yeah,
multiple people. So like how did you kind of transition from like, hey, I'm an intern now to like, hey, I need to be a leader to student interns or people that are, I guess, below you?
sure. Yeah, I mean, I think I've always kind of had it in me to be somewhat of a leader, whether it's on sports teams, different aspects of life. just I like guiding and helping as best I can. And that's kind of how I see myself as a manager is, us as a group getting to where we need to be as a group, but also looking at it selfishly. We're going to move as a unit to where we need to go, but how do we get you where you want to go as well? So, making sure that my staff knows I'm here to help.
Mhm.
And I take pride in that. I kind of look at it like my coaching tree. I love
Yeah.
bragging where my former interns, former assistants are now, um, because they're killing it and they're doing awesome, and I'm just a minor stop along the way. But that's what this industry is about is, developing people and, going on and doing great things. And someone told me once early in my career is you win with people. And that's what it's about. It's about good people. This isn't, we're not doing surgery. It's not rocket science. Like you
Yeah.
can learn to do all this work. It's a willingness and ability to come in, do it with a positive attitude. And at that point, you just find good people and you help them get to where they want to be. And good people recognize that, right? And they're going to
Mhm.
work hard for you if they realize that you're trying to get them where they want to be. So,
Mhm.
I always say, like, again, I keep saying this, but it's jokingly like a selfish approach, right? Help me help you, and
Yeah.
help me get out of your way so you could take my role and move up. That's how I approach it. And it's worked
Yeah.
at this point.
Selfishly and unselfishly as you're trying to help them too, so
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's,
Both
but just
ways.
be real about it, right? Like
Yeah.
if you work really hard, it's going to help you. And if you work really
Mhm.
hard, it's going to help me and it's going to help
Mhm.
UMass.
Yeah.
It's a win for all of us. And if UMass starts winning, yeah, I say this to people. You think the person with my job at Alabama is good? Oh yeah, yeah. Why? Because they're good at football? There's no correlation there.
Yeah.
But at the same side, like if I do everything possible to make Massachusetts win a lot of games, suddenly people will think the same thing with me.
Mhm.
I look better at my job because of what our teams do.
Yeah.
So you got to take pride in that and do everything you can to help your teams win.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great perspective. I didn't even think about it like that.
Yeah, it- it's different, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, that makes total sense. It's like if you're doing good, people are gonna recognize it more and everything like that. Steve, I just have a couple more, but I wanted to thank you again for
yeah, of
taking the
course.
time today. This has been awesome, but just more about yourself and I know that you mentioned earlier, you maybe didn't have any kind of like mentors in the start, but did you have like a mentor or two kind of coming out of grad school or in grad school or anything like that?
So really my first boss really helped me along the way, Mary Canine. She was great. Just kind of guiding me. Then there's a guy, Eric Eli, who's down at Columbia, a bunch of people at Fordham, Charlie Elwood, Dave Roach, John Barrett, Eddie Cole later on. Geez, I feel like there's so many. And honestly, like kind of going back to my management style, I think the two of my assistants, Nick Lamarca, who's a senior associate at Delaware now, and Joe Riley, who's an associate AD at Army. They both were my assistants, and, um, it's a two-way street. I looked up to them, and we helped each other and pushed each other in different ways. So although they were behind me and, they might look at me as a mentor, I also look at them as a mentor.
Mhm.
So it was definitely a two-way street, and I learned a lot from those guys.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
And
yeah,
then,
that's awesome.
my boss here, Kirsten Britton, she's been around for a while. We've talked for a while, and when this job opened up, having that, connection with her made it a lot easier.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that does, and it's always good to have people to bounce off of, and then, like, even if someone's above you, it's good to have that relationship where it doesn't feel like that, you know? Um,
Absolutely.
it's someone that's just a friend and a helpful foe. Last thing I think for me, what skills or experience do you, kinda give or advice, I guess, more of advice to someone looking to get into facilities and event ops and everything like that? What advice would you give to someone maybe that's in college or
Yeah.
kinda coming out of college, maybe in grad school? What advice would you give them?
So I would say, volunteer, intern, be present, get yourself out there, network, meet as many people as you can. Like I said earlier, the best ability is availability. Just make sure people who know who you are and step up to any opportunity. I always say that if I'm always working, I'm never working. So, if a text comes in at 8 p.m., I'm gonna have to answer that text one way or another. So I'll answer at 8 p.m. because it might not be my emergency, but it's that person's emergency.
Mhm.
And I could always just wait to answer at 9 to 5, but I think it makes me better by handling things as they come in. And that's a little bit added work. But again, that work's not going away. So if I'm
Yeah.
always handling it, I'm never having to sit panicking because I have 100 things to do.
Mhm.
So it's a
Mhm.
little bit
Yeah.
different of a thought.
No, I'd need that because sometimes I'll just be like, "Oh, I can just shove it off to tomorrow," but that's not the correct perspective or I know
Yeah.
that people are starting to rely on me, so yeah, I like that
And here's the thing,
advice.
is if you're like, in my world, "Oh, I'll fix that tomorrow," and I come in and a building's flooded, all my attention's going to the flood. Doesn't matter. And now that's on the back burner, that's a problem. If you're supposed to send tickets, but then you come in and the whole ticketing software shut down and now you're trying to troubleshoot that, like, you fall behind real quick.
Yeah, real quick. It's a fast-paced environment, obviously, as you know. Steve, I appreciate the time. I think that's all the questions I had, but if I
Awesome.
skipped anything or if you wanted to share anything else, please do.
Yeah, and same with you. Always happy to hop on a call, or if you have questions or think of something 4 months from now or 4 years from now or looking at a
Yeah.
job, 10 years from now,
Yeah.
reach out. Like, this is networking. You just made a
Yeah.
connection and I made a connection. So when I'm down at KU, I'm gonna hit you up,
Yeah,
and if
for
you're up
sure.
here, you should definitely reach out. So,
I will. I will for sure. Yeah, if I get catch myself in the Northeast, I will. 'Cause I do wanna visit Boston. That's one of the cities where
all right.
I'm wanting to go to. So,
Well,
how far is that from
still like a
where you
good 2 hours or so, hour
Okay,
and a half, 2 hours.
okay. Yeah, that's doable, you know? Well, Steve, yeah. Yeah, perfect. I appreciate it, Steve. Thank you so much for hopping on today. Thank you. Yeah, you too. Bye.